The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, has expressed its profound disappointment that one of its convoys had to turn back on Monday after unsuccessfully trying to gain access to the Yarmouk camp in Syria. The convoy comprised 6 small trucks with food for 6,000 people, along with 10,000 doses of polio vaccine and some medical supplies. It had to turn back when a bulldozer that was clearing the road ahead of the convoy was fired upon, with subsequent firing taking place nearby. When Syrian authorities gave the Relief and Works Agency clearance to deliver assistance to Yarmouk, they required it to use the southern entrance to the camp. This meant the convoy had to drive some 20 kilometers through an area of intense and frequent armed conflict. This is an extremely disappointing setback for the residents of Yarmouk, who continue to live in inhumanely wretched conditions. The Relief and Works Agency remains undaunted by these frustrating impediments and is already pressing the Syrian authorities to support a further attempt to deliver humanitarian assistance to Yarmouk. I can tell you the Secretary General is similarly concerned and frustrated, and as I just mentioned, he called in Kuwait City for access to all besieged areas.
Visiting Al Yarmouk siege. Now, this is the 5th attempt probably by UNRWA and refugees agencies to deliver food to those who are trapped in Yarmouk in Damascus. And around 50 people have already perished as a result of starvation in that. Are there any contacts made by the United Nations in order to put pressure on the rebels who are preventing the convoys from entering Yarmouk to stop firing at them? Is there any way that they can find remedy to this?
I can assure you that my colleagues in Damascus, and including Valerie Amos, the emergency relief coordinator who was there over the weekend, have been putting as much pressure as they can, and indeed the Security Council has done so too, to ensure that there is unhindered access, unfettered access, and the Secretary General has repeated that again today in Kuwait City, regardless of who is blocking the way. The fact of the matter is that the Syrian authorities insisted that UNRWA use a particular circuitous route through a very dangerous area rather than using a more direct and safer route. And it's for UNRWA to continue to work with the Syrian authorities and, of course, to liaise with other groups to seek access to an area where people have lived in difficult conditions for many years anyway, and now live in the most atrocious conditions and with cases of malnutrition and starvation. Last question, please.
I understand you correctly that the authorities are the obstacle to delivering food now.
I've said, I explained already in the note that I read, and I've elaborated, but I've also just said to you, Nizar, that the colleagues from the Relief and Works Agency are able to liaise with other groups too, to try to ensure safe passage. But as you well know, this is hardly an easy place to operate at the best of times. But it is in the hands primarily of the Syrian authorities to allow access to Yarmouk camp. Yes, last question.
Yeah, thank you. About South Sudan, could you give us